Hi, this is Trinesha Cottrell, and today I wanted to talk about all these lessons. So I know you're probably thinking, what is making you do a video called All These Lessons? So just when you feel like you're done learning, then God starts to show me more things. And it's so funny because I'm just I'm just going to just be real transparent, like I always try to be. And the only reason you hear me pause or you see me pause in some of these videos is because I'm consulting with God. And I want to make sure that it's okay to share certain things because some things aren't for everybody. Like, sometimes you have some things that God's doing on the inside of you that He's doing because it's a lesson for you to learn. Because it's at this point in your season where you need to learn it. And it's something that is unique to my journey. And so sometimes I'm like ready to just share information because I want to help as many people as possible. Sometimes I'll be like, I'm going to tell them this. And then I'm like, is that for everybody? Because that might not be something that everybody needs right now. That might not be something that will be beneficial to whoever is watching the video that you want to see this video, whether it's 1 or 100 or 1,000 or a million, whoever it is, in the future. And so, so I just, so I always talk about the past relationship where I was with this guy for 15 years and we weren't in a healthy relationship. It was pretty toxic and both of us were really immature. I know like we like to think of it as black or white and we like to think of it as like there's no gray areas. We like to think of it like it's all one person's fault, but it takes two people to be in a relationship. And I'm the type of person that I really just like to acknowledge my flaws and the things that I've done wrong. I really like to think about the things that I've done in life and how I can be better. Okay, so it's warm today, so some people are riding motorcycles, so apparently that's a thing right now. And so I know you probably heard it in this video because it was really loud. And so I always try to acknowledge my flaws and the things that I do wrong as well because I don't want to just be the type of person who just only talks about the other person. And if I'm saying something about an individual from the past, it's not because I want to talk trash about them. It's because I think it'll be beneficial for the story. I think it'll be beneficial to help somebody else. And so if I feel like what I went through with that person may help someone else, I don't use like any names or anything like that. So I try to make sure that I use discretion and that I don't drag them into whatever the story is that I'm telling. And I try to make sure that it's just something that will benefit other people who are struggling in the same way that I was struggling. And so if I always say this too, and like every once in a while I have to re-mention this and reiterate, but I'm going to say it again. If you're one of the guys who I'm talking about in this video and you probably don't know, you probably are assuming that it's you and it's probably not you, but if it is you, know that there's no malice intent. It's not because I'm like, holding some sort of grudge. It's not because I'm like, you know, I'm not harboring any resentment or anything like that. It's just because I feel like it'll be beneficial to help other women who may be struggling in the same way that I was or maybe going through the same thing that I was going through. And so if it can benefit or help someone else or help God's children in one way or another by learning a lesson from my missteps, then I want to make sure that I can help those other people. My intention on these videos is to serve and to be intentional and to be helping somebody else. So it's never to just hurt someone else's feelings or to be like really rude or nasty. It's always because I feel like whatever I went through could help somebody else. So I just hope that you understand that and you know that it's not any malice or malicious intent at all. And so usually I talk about the guy, that I was with for 15 years and how I felt after that relationship and how, I just felt like I wasn't, you know, enough or something was wrong with me or I just kind of settled for anything because I just felt like everybody was going to be miserable. So this is just what a relationship looks like, and I say that and I know some people are like, what? That makes no sense. But listen, I just, I was the type of person when I was growing up, I just felt like only bad things happen. I didn't really feel like there was such things as good things or hope or, any of those things. I never I never imagined that for my life. Let's just put it that way. So whenever I thought about life, I just thought about just punishment, punishment and sadness and misery and disappointment, you know, and unreliability. That's just what I thought in my entire life since I was a little kid. I mean, now that I've rededicated my life to God and I have security in God and God shows me hope and I have faith in things now, it's different. But but then before like I really knew God, before I really gave my life to God, I really just had this cynicism about me. I really had this feeling of just like only bad things happen. If something good's happening, it's because it's just that one individual. Of course, good things are happening to that person. That was kind of my mindset back then. And so I just kind of really felt like, oh, well, oh, well, that's never going to happen for me anyway. So what's the point? Like, let's just go ahead and just this person, I tried to push them away and they're still here. So, okay. I know that sounds so sad, but listen, this is how my thought process was when I was younger. I really felt like, okay, right? Like when I tell you I did everything I could to try to push this man away. I really did. And he wasn't with me because he really, I mean, I can't say how he felt. So let me not say that he didn't love me or he didn't care about me because I don't really know his true intentions. But I never felt like loved. I never felt appreciated. I never felt wanted. I never felt needed. I never felt any of those things. So let me just put it from my perspective. That's how I felt personally. I don't know what his intentions were at all. And so I just, I just really was like, this is just life. This is just what it is. You just kind of have to deal with these kind of things. I really just I didn't expect to ever be with anybody ever. Like I knew I was going to be with people just because that's just life. But I never I never thought that I would be with someone ever. Never thought that was going to be a thing. Like I never wanted to be with someone. I never in my head, this is going to sound real sad and don't feel bad for me because I've done a lot of healing since then. But I used to feel like, what's the point when every person's going to leave anyways? Every person is going to disappoint me anyways. Every person is going to be unreliable. Every person is never going to treat me the right way. Every person is going to be not about that life. Like, so what's the point? Like, what's the point or what's the difference between choosing this guy who's not that type of person that I should be with anyways, and this guy who seems like an okay person both of them are going to disappoint me. So does it really matter which guy that I choose? Like that's how I really felt. And so I know some people are cringing as they're watching this, but I feel like it's important to be real because if I'm pretending as if oh no, I lived this way. Everything was so perfect. And, like I never had any issues. I never dealt with any insecurities. I never got jealous. I never acted or behaved in a way that I wish that I could have changed in the past. I'm not the type of person, like I know you're used to people on these videos pretending as if things are just so perfect and they just do everything perfectly all day, every day. But I'm not that person. I am not. I try to be a better person every day, but I'm flawed for real. And so, I mean, the only thing I do differently than some other people is I just stay focused on God for the most part. And I say the most part because sometimes I do get distracted. Sometimes there's things that I want that I know are not good for me. It's like that old Nisha, like, the id and ego and super ego, the angel and devil sitting on your shoulder. And it's just like one of them's like, girl, you could do this. And then the angel's like, but you came so far. And so I kind of got to really just like focus on God and just allow him to guide my footsteps because I don't want to turn back. I don't want to be that person that I used to be. I want to, like, I've done too much growth, too much improvement. I've been working on myself for too long. I've been in too much therapy. I've literally been doing so much self-care and healing. I just can't turn back. And it would be like all of the things that I've been doing would be null and void if I just turned back to the ways that I used to have or the person that I used to be. And so, and God has like really brought me through so much for me to just feel as if he couldn't do the things that I know he can do, and the promises that he's already placed upon me. I can't just pretend as if, you know, all of the miracles and all of the things that God has brought me to don't exist anymore. Because once God picks you up out of that like dark place, it's really hard to turn back to being real cynical. It's really hard to turn back to being the type of person who's insecure or jealous or feeling like nothing's possible. Because with God, everything is possible. So it's just one of those things. But when I was with the guy that I was with for 15 years or so, it really just was. I really just felt like that was just the best that there was for life. Like that was it. There was nothing else that was going to be better. There was it was just going to be a bunch of guys that would disappoint me. It was just going to be a bunch of guys who just weren't about that life. It was just going to be a bunch of guys who just, you know, they talk a lot of talk, but they don't do a lot of action. And it's just that's just kind of what I envision for the future. I didn't really think that anything better was ever possible at all. It just kind of felt like it was some kind of unrealistic Disney Channel thing. Sorry to shout out Disney. And hopefully that maybe like YouTube will do the little blur thing that they kind of do on these videos sometimes when it's loading. And I'm like, I know I said something there. And then it doesn't come through in the video. Hopefully they do that on this video. But yeah, I really felt that way. And I stayed because I just didn't think that God would give me anything better. Like I messed up so much in my life. I did so many things wrong. I made the wrong decisions. I always wanted to go against the grain in the wrong way. I always wanted to, like, if someone said, don't do this, I would definitely this sounds so horrible. I'm not this person anymore. But if someone said, don't do this, I would definitely, absolutely want to try to do that now, all of a sudden, because like someone told me that I couldn't do it. And you would think because I was that person, I would just turn it and, use it for the good instead of use it for the bad. But I really, back in that day, I really felt like that was the best choice for some reason. Like it felt easier to make bad decisions than it was to make better decisions. And so I just chose to stay because I was just like, this is just all there is in life. So, okay, this is it. And every day I just felt more like a piece of me was breaking off. Every day I felt more like I wasn't who God created me to be, but I didn't know that's what it was then. I just felt like something was missing. I felt like, I don't know if me getting up, going to work, coming back home, and doing the same thing over and over again is how I'm supposed to be living my life. And it's nothing wrong with the routine. It's nothing wrong with the schedule. I'm not getting on people's schedule. I'm just saying that the type of life that I was living wasn't something that brought me any kind of joy. It wasn't something that allowed me to feel like I was doing anything in life. I felt like I was, I was alive, but I wasn't living, I felt like I was breathing. I was talking, I was walking, I was doing different things, but I wasn't appreciating my life. I wasn't enjoying my life. I wasn't living my life. And so every day it just kept getting harder and harder to remember who I was. Like it felt like a piece of me was just disappearing every day until I was almost gone. Like I felt like there was like a little flicker of the person who I used to be when I was a kid, when you could, all of the things that you imagine that you do in life, and you're like, I'm going to be this, I'm going to do all of these things, where life seems like it's like everything is possible. Like you just have this idea in your head that you can accomplish anything, that if you just believe in yourself, you can be anywhere, you can do anything, you can do whatever you want with your life. That's how I felt when I was a kid. And then life started happening, and the more that I started to get disappointed, the more people that left, the more things that happened in my life, the more tragic, tragedy, tragic events, the more trauma, all of those things that were happening just started making me feel like more and more like my dreams were impossible. It started making me feel like there was no way that, anything else could happen in my life. Like maybe this is the type of life that God intended for me. I don't know why. Like I felt like that at that time. And so eventually, the disappointments came and I started to just feel like I was trapped. I started to feel like I had no other choice. I started to feel myself disappear. I started to feel more and more sad every day. I couldn't go a day without crying in this relationship, like after the first year or two. And even in the first year or two, there were a lot of tears, but it wasn't every day. And it just it just kept getting worse and worse. And I was just like, one day, I always tell this story because I feel like it's important and not everybody's gonna watch every video. So it's important for people to understand why it happened that way. And so it wasn't until I had a birthday. And at this birthday, the guy did nothing. He slept all day. He didn't help me decorate. It was during the 19 and everything was closed. You couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't do anything. I invited like my closest friends and family members over, and we had dinner. It was like a fancy dinner setup. I did all the balloons, all the decorations because I'm like a little creative. I am creative. Let me just stop diminishing my capacity. And so, so I like did all of these decorations. I did some balloon columns. I did a backdrop, and on the backdrop it had like this saying for like my birthday, and then the balloons were on the columns. I had this couch sitting in the middle, and I had like little pillows on the side. It was so cute. And then I had like this fur, like kind of like this thing on this chair, but I had like this fur thing on the front of the couch so that when you're taking a picture, it was just like a whole vibe for real. And then in the kitchen, I had like the long table and I had a round table, and the tables were set up, in different areas. And around the outside, the perimeter was like the salad, and there was like a spaghetti or lasagna or something like that. I think I did spaghetti. And then there were like garlic bread. There was garlic bread, and there was like a thing of veggies with dip. And then I had like a little banner that had happy birthday, but it was in rose gold. And then I had the candles on the side of the bar area, and then like the bar stools, and I had like the tablecloth that I got. I had like this tablecloth, and there were rose gold like confetti things, but it was like the little circles with like different shaped circles in it that were all over the table, all over the other table. And it was like one table was white, one table was rose gold with white. And the chairs, they were like kind of just normal chairs, but they were like decorated in a way. And I had like little bows on the back of the chairs. So I did all of this and set all this stuff up, blew up like probably 50 balloons by myself. And he slept the whole time. Then he didn't give me anything for my birthday. He didn't even write a letter or anything. And I was just like, what? Are you serious? And like I say in every video, it wasn't about the gift. It was really about the thought. It was really about like, that's when I really felt like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Like I don't care how miserable I gotta be with somebody else. I just can't be with you anymore, you know? And, and so I was like, it's over. And on my birthday, that's so me though. But yeah, on my birthday. And the person was like so disappointed, supposedly. And like I said, I don't know how this person felt. They were upset. They were crying. They really wanted to stay together, everything else, but I just couldn't do it anymore. And the whole point of the story is it was over. Eventually it was over. And the birthday party was just kind of the thing that made me realize, okay, this person obviously just doesn't care about me at all. So I need to move on with my life. And, we kind of talked about it and stuff like that. And we decided to try to see if we could stay together. And I went on this trip that my dad got me to go on with some of my family members, and he allowed me to go like on this little mini vacation thing. I know. Listen. And after feeling so unappreciated, after feeling so unworthy, after feeling like this was the best that life had for me. Yes, the bike is nice. But listen, after feeling like so unappreciated and everything, when my dad did that for me and my mom, and we went on this trip, it was the first trip. It was the first time I ever went anywhere without this person. I know that sounds so like crazy. Some people are probably cringing even at that sentence. They're like, so y'all did pretty much everything together. Besides me going to work, we were always together. And it's nothing wrong with spending time with the person that you care about. I just felt like I never had a moment to really be by myself. I never had a moment to really be alone, to really appreciate the time that, like getting to know like what it is that I wanted. I never had a moment to really think about what I wanted. Like I never wanted to be in a relationship. I never wanted to be with anybody. I just kind of wanted to just be alone and just be by myself in a corner in a dark room. Like seriously, like that's what I aspired in my life, which is why I ended up in this relationship. And so I really just I didn't want any of those things in the first place. And the only reason I was there is because the person was consistently trying to get me to be with them because they were really putting a lot of pressure on being in a relationship and they really wanted it to be like a thing. And I really just, I really, I knew I wasn't ready for any type of relationship anyways. Like I had this codependency thing. So I wanted to be with someone just because, but not because I wanted to be with that person. And yes, I did like the person, but I only liked them for like all the wrong reasons. I liked them because they were like hard headed. I liked them because they were bullheaded. I liked them because they were just the type of person who always said what was ever on their mind. They weren't the type of person who would like tiptoe around the situation. They would just speak whatever it was. If someone said something they didn't like, they were the type of person that had no problem voicing their opinion, which I kind of respected in a way. And they were really, I don't want to say aggressive, and I'm not saying it in that way, so calm down. But they were like more like firm, like this is what I want, when I want it, how I want it kind of person, at this time, at this date, at this, it was kind of like that type of person. And so I was just kind of like, oh, okay, all right. And I really didn't think about what I wanted at all. I didn't think about, okay, I mean, I knew like I was attracted to this person because they were attractive. I knew that I liked some of the characteristic traits about this person. I knew that we had some things in common, but I didn't really think about who they were at their core. I didn't really think about the type of person that they really were. I just was with them just because, you know, because I didn't want to be by myself, because I didn't want them to be with somebody else, not because I actually wanted him. And so I know it sounds so weird saying it out loud, but that's how I really felt. And once we got together, it was really hard to leave the relationship. It was just like, okay, well, we're together, so what's the alternative? And people would say things along the way, which is why I always get on people when they say this. They would say things like, you could do bad all by yourself. And I'm like, well, I'm doing bad with or without this guy. So we're probably going to stay together. And I'm doing a little smile, but I'm not smirking because I'm like, ha ha ha. I'm smirking because I'm just like, I cannot believe I acted like this in the past. Like it's one of those. And I just, whenever you see your friend or family member in a relationship, please, in Jesus' name, don't say, I'm just telling you because I've been on the other end and I know how it feels to hear somebody say this. Please stop saying you can do bad all by yourself. Or if you're going to say it, say that you can do better without them. And if you could, like, just even go away from that whole saying and just start speaking life into those people, it will really help them leave that relationship so much sooner, because they'll start to believe in themselves more. They'll start to see their worth. They'll start to know that God has better for them instead of thinking that this is the only thing that God can do. And I know that was the adversary just telling me that I needed to just settle for something less than what God had for me, because God would never intend for me to be at lack of anything. And I was at lack of everything in that relationship. Like, God still always provided a way because I always believed in God. I just didn't have a relationship with God. And so it's totally different when you're saying, oh, yeah, I'm a Christian, or yeah, I believe in God, and you don't abide by any of the principles of the Bible. It's totally different when, you're praying to God, God, just get me here safe. But when you're scared, then you just constantly having a relationship talking to God about how your day's going, and knowing that God is there and he's willing to listen to whatever it is that you say. It's really different when you just kind of do your own thing and you just call on God when it's convenient. It's a whole different type of life that you're living. And so for me, I just, in my head, I was just all about, this is what I want at this time, at this date. So I'm going to do what I want, not what God wants me to do. I didn't even take the time to ask God if this relationship was even for me before I got into that long relationship. I just kind of hopped in face first, falling flat on my face. I really didn't take the time to acknowledge God's opinion on whether this was going to be beneficial for the kingdom or not, you know? And so I really just, it was just one of those things. And it didn't help. But I did learn a lot about myself. And which is why I was going to call this a lot of these lessons. That's not the only story I'm going to tell. I'm going to try to make this quick because I do have like probably 5 minutes before I have to leave. And so I know y'all are like, you always have to go somewhere. Listen, my daughter has this thing, and then I have a meeting tonight. So I had to go because I told her that we would go probably stop and do some reading before her after school activity or before her extracurricular activity. And so I need to make sure that I'm reading too. So I want to read some more of this 8 Rules of Love by Jay Shetty. So either that or I'm going to read When Women Pray by T.D. Jakes, because I've been trying to do like a little, like one of the stories a day or something like that. So that way I can kind of do some self-reflection and see where I'm at, how I can relate that story to mine, and how I can learn from their story and implement those lessons in my life. And so what I learned from my past experience is that God has better for me. I learned that it's not always just the other person's fault. You have to really acknowledge your flaws. You really have to take some accountability, because I chose to be in that relationship. I chose to stay with that person. I chose to just stay there. That was my choice. It wasn't that the person forced me to be there. It wasn't that, it wasn't any of those things. I was the person who decided that this is what I wanted to do with 15 years of my life. This is the life, this is the 15 years that I decided to give to this person. It is not, and a lot of people would like to say, well, this person was toxic. Listen, I was not the best person either. My communication sucked. When I say it sucked, I didn't even know what communication looked like. I was really horrible at communicating in the whole relationship. I never communicated what I wanted, what I needed. When I asked for things, I said it in like the worst tone ever. I never like said the things that I really wanted and let my yes be yes and my no be no. I really just was like, I'm gonna have to be miserable. This is just how it is, and just accepted everything. I literally didn't take any time to just, I won't say didn't work on myself at all. I love learning. So I was always taking classes or doing something because I just am the type of person who just loves learning things. It's just one of those dorky qualities about me. Like, I was always in school or doing something, regardless if I was with that person or not. And it wasn't because I believed in myself. I just wanted to do something and I love learning. It wasn't that I thought of it as self-care. I thought of it more like a chore. I was just like, okay, this is another thing that I have to do, and I wanted to advance in my life, but I didn't believe in myself, which is weird. Like, I don't know how I made it in school in 2 consecutive semesters with a 4.0. Like, that doesn't even make any sense. And I mean, while I was going through so much crazy mess, but that's neither here nor there. I really think it's important to pull all of those lessons from any point of your life and to acknowledge your flaws, to take accountability. because it's really easy to point the finger at somebody else instead of looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, hey, here's where I'm lacking. Here is where I need to do better. Here is where I can actually learn how to communicate better. Here is where I can actually start to believe in myself more. Here is where I can know that my God can do exceedingly and abundantly above all else, that I can ever ask, think, or imagine. Here is where I can start to find my purpose, because sometimes those lessons push you into your purpose. Sometimes those things are necessary because it's exactly what God will use to be able to prosper you in life, to be able to have you serve and be intentional in the way that He intended you to, so that it can be beneficial for the kingdom. And it's funny because sometimes I'll feel like, okay, I understand this, I know this. Or like after the relationship, I was like, I'll never be treated like this again. I'll never do this again. I'll never settle for this again. And then the very next guy that I meet, I like am ready to just lower my standards for this guy. Not in that type of way, but in like I wouldn't say it's in an extreme way, but in enough of a way for me to feel crappy, because when you don't stick to your standards, when you don't stand up for the things that you want, when you don't honor and respect yourself, it really gives the person whoever you're talking to is going to be the bare minimum person. They're not going to be the best that they could be with you because you're just accepting the least version of them, you know? And so for me, I really just felt like, okay, well, I know what I deserve. I know that I honor and respect myself. And then I meet this person and I have this unrealistic, like, pressure that I put on myself. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know why I even felt this way. It's so weird. But but as soon as I met this person, I guess because they knew some of the people that I knew and the other people that I knew said that this person was a great person. And I felt like chopped liver. Like I felt like an amazing person until I talked to this person, until I heard the opinion of this person. Then I was like, listen, I made so many mistakes. This person is all of that. Like if anything goes wrong, it's going to be my fault because they're going to automatically assume that I'm the person that messed this up because I've done so many like of the wrong things in the past. And so I really felt like I had to be perfect. I really felt like I couldn't make any mistakes. I really felt like every time I wanted to have a standard or set a boundary, I couldn't set it because the person would say things like, "Oh, this, and this." And I did come off a little like that because, I knew what I wanted, but there was a way that I could have said it better, if that makes any sense. Like maybe the way that I asked for things, it wasn't like an ask, it was like a straightforward thing. And I could have said it in a kinder way. Like I didn't say it in a nasty way, but I also didn't say it with like the softness. I said it more like in a this is what I want, like this at this point. And the person was like, okay, like that's a lot. And I was like, mm-hmm. And then I thought about it and I was like, the way that I said that, because it was in a text message, came off completely wrong. Like, was I right for saying having a standard? Absolutely. Was I right for saying it the way that I said it? Absolutely not. Like, what I could have said is if we are trying to to know each other, intentionality is really important. And being intentional is knowing like the direction of where things are heading and things like that. Because I don't think that there's a rush on anything, but I also think that you should have some sort of idea of what it is that you want or don't want. And if you don't want me, don't talk to me. Like that's how I feel about it. I feel like it's no point in pretending like you're interested if you're not. If you're not interested, I'll be fine. you know, like it's not like God only made one guy and that's it. So I just, yeah, it was a hot mess. And in that situation, I went ahead of God. God was like, wait. And I was like, but why? I don't understand. And this is what happens when you're disobedient. It's a hot mess. It's an ish storm. when you disobey God, when you don't listen to what God wants. When you are obedient to God, when you listen to what it is that He wants for you to do, everything just flows. It's like butter, baby. I don't know why I said it like that, but it really is. It's like it just glides on so smooth when God is in the midst. And when it's you, it's kind of like, you know how on the runway or like wherever, and they throw the thing out to try to pop somebody's tires, and the car runs over like the thing that they put in the road, and the car's tires go flat and it's skirting and it does like a couple tumbles and all that stuff. That's how your life looks when you go your own way instead of going God's way. That's how my life looks when I decide to take things into my own hands instead of allowing God to take the lead, instead of being obedient to what it is that God wants for me to do. And every time I feel like I know what God is going to tell me to do, I learn something else. And today, I'm saying this because I want to be transparent and I want to help some people who feel like the last relationship is the only relationship they'll ever be tested in. It'll be the only person they talk to that will ever make them start to second guess some things. It'll be the only person who will ever do this, this, and this. Listen, you're not going to catch everything. You're going to want to, but you won't. You are not perfect, and it's okay. You don't have to be hard on yourself because you missed the test that some guy, tried you at. You don't have to feel like you're failing in life because you didn't do everything right. You're not going to do everything right. That's why life has lessons. That's why you're constantly learning, because everything that you're going through every day is a lesson for you to try to improve to be better the next day. So I hope that you aren't so hard on yourself that you feel like, oh, I shouldn't have done this. Every time you beat yourself up, you are lowering your confidence. You are lowering the way that you feel about yourself. You're making yourself more insecure the more you talk down to yourself. So every time, what I do when I get ready to be like, oh, Nisha, really? Then then I say, you got this, girl. I immediately throw that in there because I don't want to give the adversary a foothold in my life. I don't want to allow him to think, oh, okay, here's a part where she's going to be insecure. Here's a part where she's going to feel like she doesn't have it. So let me go ahead right on in here and insert person X to distract her. Let me go ahead and insert person A from the past and have them, pretend as if they're interested and then disappear. Let me have person C or Z, I mean, not Z, but person F come in and insert a new girl. I don't know. Like, it's always some sort of thing that the adversary wants to try to throw in, especially when life is hitting me hard. It's like, I'll be like, okay, I can't take one more thing. And the adversary will be like, bloop, gotcha. And I'm like, really though? That's how we doing. It's a fixed fight, right? And I already won. And so, like, that's how he really be doing. But earlier today, I realized something that I didn't realize was still even an issue. This is why God is having me wait. Like, I knew there was a reason. And one of the things I learned today is we have to stop speaking negativity over our lives. I know I've said that in the past, but sometimes we get into this mood or we get into a moment where we say something out of haste. We say it because we're disappointed, because we're sad, because we're angry. And in the heat of the moment, we say something that retracts the blessing that God is about to send us. We don't even realize we're doing it. Like, for example, you might say something like, oh, I don't ever want to be a parent. Then you get married and you want to have kids. And now all of a sudden you find it really difficult to have a kid. And it's because you spoke that over your life. The blessing that God was going to give you, you already redacted it. You took it away before it even had a chance to come into fruition. You have to allow God to be able to do those things in your life. And in order for you to do that, anytime you have ever said something out of anger, anytime you've ever said anything just in haste, take a moment and repent. Allow God to know that that was not something that you want for your life, that you really truly do want that child. You really truly do want that relationship, whatever it is. Because every time you say, well, this person will never be with me, God's like, I was sending that person to you, and now you're not going to get that person. Every time you say, well, this person never was interested in me, all of a sudden they're no longer interested because you are acting like you're disinterested. Every time you feel like, well, I'm not worth all of these things. Why would God bless me with $1 million? I would never be a millionaire? Whatever it is that you're speaking over your life. And God is saying, the plans I had for you was to prosper you and to never to harm you. And you're saying that like $1 million was a lot. I was going to make you the first billionaire in your family. And because you don't even believe that you could become a millionaire, you're not even going to be able to see that. Sometimes we really do get beside ourselves. Instead of feeling like you don't deserve the thing that God has for you, how about you start allowing God to just work miracles in your life? How about you start to acknowledge the things that God actually wants to do for you? Instead of you doubting yourself, you think that you doubting yourself is only stopping you. It's stopping you, your family, your friends, people coming behind you, and your potential spouse, the person that you could be with, but you feel like it's too good for you. Because you spoke that over your life, you can't have that person now unless you repent. God can do anything, but you have to know what it is that you want. I did this thing. I'm only going to say this because the thing is over. Okay. I'm saying it because it no longer matters. Sorry. This strap is like a little tight that goes around here. And sometimes it gets a little like it pulls down, I guess, because of the ruching. And so, so it's like I could feel it like digging into my shoulder. So I had to take a moment on camera. But when I met this other person, the first thing I said before we even had a chance or anything, first thing I said, and God was like, I'm not going to cry or anything over this. When I met this person who was an incredible person, who was patient and kind and understanding and everything else, first thing I said was, I said two things. I said, the only reason that we wouldn't be together is if this thing happened. I could see that being a thing that would make this not possible. So this is probably the thing that's going to end up being the reason why we can't be together. The second, it's a lot going on in this neighborhood, I guess because it's nice outside. I should be out there. And I went over my time, but it's okay. I think I still have enough time, and if not, we'll go after as well. But the second thing is when we first started talking to each other and everything was fine. Like I was treated the right way. We were talking to each other, everything. And I could feel the adversary telling me, you don't deserve this. Why would you deserve this when there's so many women who don't deserve anything? I mean, who deserve the same thing as you, but they still haven't received it. There's women out here who have been single for 5 years. There's women out here who have been single for 3 years, for 10 years, for 20 years, whatever it is. And they've been waiting for somebody all this time. Why do you feel like you even deserve this? Why would God give you this? And I started to feel like, you're right. Why would God even give me this? I made so many mistakes in my past. I'm not a perfect person. I do all of these things wrong. And I just felt like I just didn't deserve it. I felt like even though God said that I was worthy, in that moment, I felt worthless. In that moment, I felt like maybe he really didn't intend to give me any of these things. Maybe this is the punishment that I was supposed to really receive after I left the past relationship. Maybe God just doesn't want me to have these things in my life. And maybe he just showed me this because he wanted to rub it in my face and show me that I could never be with this person. And as soon as I said that, everything fell apart. I literally spoke death over the entire situation before we even had a chance to be anything. And sometimes you don't realize how powerful the power of the tongue is. Sometimes you don't realize that you feeling like you don't deserve something that God is going to bless you with is you speaking against the blessing. Sometimes you don't understand that when God is working in your life, you don't have to know the reason why He's allowing you to have anything. The only thing you have to do is just be obedient, serve, be intentional, and seek God. God will take care of the rest. You don't have to have all the answers for everything. You don't have to know the reason why God is giving you this thing before somebody else. And you can't look at somebody else's situation because I mean, it could have been that God said this will help you benefit the kingdom more. It could have been that the other person wasn't ready, that's waiting 5 years because they haven't been obedient. Maybe they have been obedient, but they have something else in their purpose that they have to finish first. Maybe if I would have listened and waited like God intended me to, it would have been plenty of time for me to be able to know that I didn't even think that was going to be a thing that tripped me up. I didn't even know that I would be speaking death over the whole situation. I don't know why I felt that way. I thought I was like so healed that I was just ready for everything. And when it happened, I really felt like I just didn't deserve it. I felt like everything was going to go wrong. Like that I was going to be the person that just messed everything up. That it was like a lot of pressure that I put on myself. I really felt, I don't know how to explain it, but I just diminished any possibility. I started pushing the person away. I started, having this real big barrier around me. It just, I just started to come up with just things just to make it so that we couldn't be together. And then the third thing that I did is when God said, okay, I'm going to give you another opportunity. He gave me an opportunity and he said, I need you to go to this thing. And I said, God, that doesn't make any sense. You told me that I can't be with this person. You told me that now is not the time. I mean, it had been like a few months at this time, or 6 months or so. And so I was like, but I still was like, thinking, well, God said no at this time. So that means no forever, even though he said to wait. And so he said, I need you to be here. And I'm like, that's impossible. I don't even talk to this person. I don't know how that would be possible. And then the person says, hey, can you go to this thing? And I honestly felt so, I had that little twinge of cynicism inside of me, like, maybe this is the adversary trying to get me to go against God. Maybe, like, why would God want me to have something that I actually want? You know? And so I said, no, I wasn't going to go to the thing. And as I started to pull away, I could feel myself. I could feel God tell me, you're supposed to be there. And I didn't go. And so I ended up going to something else a few weeks later. And the person's there, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready now. And God's like, it's not about when you're ready. Like, I felt ready before then, but I was a little bit afraid. And I just felt like, okay, well, I just don't want to make it so that I don't have any standards or boundaries. I don't want to just give this person an opportunity and, it might not be the right time. Whatever else, I don't know. And I just had all of these thoughts in my mind. And by the time I realized, it was too late. And earlier today, the second thing that I learned is we really have to see ourselves as worthy already. Like, I felt worthy, but if I'm being honest, I think that some of the things that I had in my life made me feel more worthy not just me by myself, you know? So as long as I had the job, as long as I had all of these things in my life, I felt like, okay, this makes me worthy. Even though I know that the only thing that makes me worthy is me being a child of God. That's what makes me worthy. What makes me worthy is my obedience to God. What makes me worthy is the fact that I'm willing to serve and be intentional and all of the blessings that God gives me for me to bless somebody else. That's what makes me worthy. It's not these people, places, or things. All of these things are just added bonuses for my life. And I really felt like I didn't even know that I was using my job or whatever else in my life as something that would be used as a guide or as a measurement for what worthiness looks like for me. And once some of those things were wrong, I could feel it a little. I could feel like, oh my gosh, without this job, I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I'm not whole. I feel like, all of these things. And we really have to realize that we are worthy without any of those things because God says that we are, because He created us worthy. We are worthy alone by ourselves. My hair in any style, any length does not determine my worthiness. This hair is not me. It's not all of me. It's a part of me. My smile, just because I take care of my teeth, this is not going to make me worthy or not. Whether I'm teethless or I have a full set of healthy teeth, I'm still worthy. No matter what my shape looks like, whether I lose or gain something, I'm going to still be worthy. My skin complexion, the melanin could be popping. With or without this melanin, I'm still going to be me. I'm still going to be worthy. With or without a job, I'm still going to be worthy. With or without a partner, I'm still going to be worthy. With or without whatever else it is that God adds in my life as a bonus, as like and something extra that I get to be blessed with. Even with those things, without those things, I'm still worthy. And I think it's really important for us to understand that and to stop speaking death over our lives. Because in conclusion, the power of life and death lies in the power of the tongue. The life and death lies in the power of the tongue. So when you're about to get in a relationship, if you have discernment and God is telling you it's okay, stop blocking your blessings. Don't wait until it's too late to finally realize that something is for you and to be obedient to God. I know you might be scared, especially after you get hurt. I know you might feel like there's no way God would think that I'm worthy enough to have these things in my life. But God already, really person, but God already created you worthy. You are worthy with or without any of those things. You are worthy by yourself. There's nothing that can fill you up like God. And God cares more about you than the sparrows. God knows every hair on your head. God is everything. He is with you always. So when you feel afraid, know that you're not alone. When you feel like, God, I don't deserve this, accept the blessings. Don't be that person. Do not be that person that's like, oh girl, I like your outfit. Oh, it only costs $2. I got it from such and such. Like you got to explain it. Oh, this thing. Oh, it's nothing. Oh, it's nothing. Don't be that person. Okay? Because people are trying to give you a compliment. Accept it and roll with it. Just acknowledge the fact that you look good or that your outfit is cute or whatever else and just like accept it. Accept it and just be really receptive of the compliment. Acknowledge it. Let them know that you respect them giving you a compliment. Because when you say, oh no, it's something, oh no, it's nothing, it's like you saying, oh, your compliment's not good enough. And I feel like that's how God feels with us when he tries to bless us with something and we feel like we need to downgrade, or we feel like we need to do something besides the thing that God wants us to do, because we feel like that's the best that God has. And God is saying he has so much more for you. He's got a better job. He's got a better whatever it is in your life that you're settling for. You don't have to just settle for that, because that is the extra bonus that God is giving you. That is not all of you. That's not everything. God is your everything. And you are worthy, with or without any of those things, with or without the shape, with or without the teeth, with or without the hairstyle or the hair in any way, with or without my whatever it is. The hair doesn't make me worthy. Clothes don't make me worthy. The job doesn't make me worthy. The person doesn't make me worthy. God makes me worthy. So know that you are worthy just as you are. And accept all of the lessons that God is trying to teach you. I know it may feel like your life is falling apart, or it may feel like you're going through so many things, but allow God to use that to strengthen you. Allow him that to be used to push you into purpose. Allow it to be used to give you the motivation that you need to help other people. Allow that thing to be used to encourage you and not to deter you or to make you feel like you can't do something. Allow it to be something that pushes you closer in relationship to God. Stay focused on him and know that he is God and that he's got everything under control. Learn the lessons that you need to learn and know your worth.